question D, again we'll just look at the left side first. So this bit here, I stopped when I saw this, okay, so that was the left side. So if I copy that down first to make it a bit more better and easier for me to do my working out. So 1 has to be less than or equal to 4x minus 3. Now to get that x on its own, I have to get rid of this minus 3 first. So the first thing I'll do is I'll add 3 to both sides. So now on the left hand side, 1 add 3 is 4. Copy the sign down. On the right hand side, the minus and the plus 2 cancels out, leaving me just 4x. Now to get the x on its own, I have to get rid of this times 4. To do that, I have to divide by 4 on both sides. Now on the left hand side, this bit here, the 4 divided by 4 is just 1. Copy the sign down, and then the times 4 and the divided 4 cancels out. So that gives me a solution that x has to be equal to or greater than 1. So this is the first part of our answer. So x has to be equal to or greater than 1. Then to continue the question, we have to now look at the right hand side. So that would be this bit here. So I'll copy that down. 4x minus 3 has to be less than 13. So now to get this x on its own, I have to go to this minus 3 first. So I have to add 3 to both sides. So on the right hand side, this bit here, 13 add 3 is just 16. Copy the sign down. On the left hand side, the minus 3 and the plus 6 cancelled out, leaving me just 4x. And now to get the x on its own, this x on its own, we have to get rid of the times 4. How do we get rid of times 4? Divide both sides by 4. So when you divide by 4, 16 divided by 4 is just going to become 4. Copy the sign down. The times 4 divided 4 cancels out, leaving me just x. So this bit tells me that x has to be less than 4. So now just got to combine these two bits. So we know that x is greater than or equal to 1, and then from this bit we know that x is less than 4. So just because we already got the x, just copy the less than 4. Okay, and if you remember on the number line, we will show this as like this. So x can be any value that's less than 4, because it says that here, and x can be any number that's equal to or greater than 1. Okay, so remember this is the answer. So on the number line, this is what it looks like. So we draw a circle on top of the 1, we draw a circle on top of the 4. Now because it's less than 4, the arrows on over this way, and because this is telling us that x is greater than or equal to 1, because greater than 1, the arrow go this way, and because it's equal, we want to straight this in, which means x can be any number, for example 1, 2 or 3. It can't be 4 because x is less than 4. This is not shaded, so x can only be 1, 2 or 3. So remember, this is the final answer here. But this time, remember, x had two bits of condition. First bit was this bit here has to be greater than this bit. Then the second condition was that this bit has to be less than 13. And that's why in our answer, we have two bits of the answer as well. So this side tells us that x has to be less than 4, and this bit tells us that x has to be equal to or greater than 1. So with question E again, so we're going to look at it in two halves. So the first half is this bit here. So I'm going to copy this down here. 11 has to be less than or equal to 3x plus 5. or 3x plus 5 has to be equal to or greater than 11. So to solve this and to get the x on its own, I have to get rid of this plus 5 first. And how do I get rid of plus 5? The opposite, which is minus 5. So I take away 5 here, I take away 5 here. So that means on the left hand side, 11 take away 5 is 6. And on the right hand side, I'll be left with 3x. The plus 5 and the minus 5 cancels out, and just copy the sign down. Now finally, to get the x on its own, I have to get rid of this times 3 now. So I have to divide by 3 on the right, and I have to divide by 3 on the left. So on the left hand side, 6 divided by 3 is just 2. On the right hand side, the times 3 and the divisor cancels out, leaving just x, and then just copy the sign down. So for question E, x has to be equal to or greater than 2. So that's just for the left side of the equation. Now we're going to look at the right side of the equation, this bit here. So let's copy that down. 3x plus 5 has to be less than 17. So again, to get the x on its own, this x on its own, I have to get rid of this plus 5. So I take away 5 from both sides. So on the left hand side, the plus 5 and the minus 5 cancels out, leaving with just the 3x. And then on the right hand side, 17 take away 5 is 12. And then we just copy the sign down. Now to get the x on its own, I have to go to the times 3, so I have to divide by 3 on the left, I have to divide by 3 on the right. So the times 3 and divide to cancel out, it was just x on the left hand side. On the right hand side, 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. So x has to be less than 4. So now from this bit here, I knew that x has to be greater than or equal to 2. So copy that down. Copy that down exactly. And on look at the right hand side, I already have the x, so I just need to copy this bit here down. I just need to copy this bit here down. So x has to be less than 4. So that's the answer to our question. X has to be equal to or greater than 2, but it has to be less than 4. So on a number line, because I can see 2, write 2 down and draw a circle, and because I can see 4, draw the line and write 4 and draw a circle there. Now x has to be less than 4, so don't shade it in. Okay, don't need the arrowhead there like that. Just draw the line, and then x has to be greater than or equal to 2, so we have to shade this in. So this tells us that x can be the numbers 2 and 3. It can't even be 4 because the circle is not shaded, because it has to be less than 4. So the only integer value, or the only values in integers that fulfill this criteria are 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 are the only whole numbers that fulfill this criteria. So in a way, when you see like this, sandwich between two signs, it's like having to solve 2 bits. And so we get 2 answers. So the first answer is here, that x has to be less than 4. And the second answer was that x has to be equal to or greater than 2. Question F, and again to solve this we have to treat it as 2 equations. First of all, this bit in blue, and then we're going to do this bit in red. So these are our 2 equations that we're going to deal with. So let's do the left bit first. So with the left bit, it's minus 3 has to be equal to or less than 2x minus 3. To get this x on its own, I have to get rid of the minus 3 here first. So I have to add 3 to both sides. So when you add 3 to both sides, minus 3 add 3 is just 0. Copy the sign down, and then minus 3 plus 2 cancels out, leaving with just 2x. So now to get rid of this times 2 and get x by itself, I have to do the opposite of times 2, which is divide by 2. So divide by 2. Now on the left hand side, 0 divided by 2 is just going to be 0. Okay, if I cut 0 divided by 2 means cutting 0 into half, you're still going to get 0. You can't cut 0 into a half. Okay, so the first answer is going to be x is equal to or greater than 0. Now we're going to look at the right hand side. The right hand side is this bit here, so we'll copy that down. 2x minus 3 is equal to or less than 7. So all of this is either equal to or less than 7. So to work this out, I have to get rid of this minus 3 here first, so I have to add 3 to both sides, copy the sign down. So on the right hand side, 7 add 3 is 10, and on the left hand side, the minus and plus cancels out, leaving with just 2x. And now to get the x on its own, I have to divide by 2 on the left, I have to divide by 2 on the right. So times 2 divide to cancel out, leaving just x, and then copy the sign down. 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. So x is equal to or less than 5, which I've shown over here, and x has to be greater than or equal to 0, which was shown there. So now to combine these two, so I can copy this bit here down straight away, and then stitch or just copy this bit and add it to it. So copying this bit here down first, 0 has to be less than or equal to x, or x has to be equal to or greater than 0. Now we just want to copy this bit down, x has to be less than or equal to 5. So this is the final answer. So that means x has to be any number that's greater than 0, because that's what the left side says, and also x has to be any number 5 or less. This is what the right bit says. So x could be, if they asked you what the integer values, x has to be 0 or more. So that means I can include 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this question they said x can be equal to or less than 5, so therefore we can include 5 as well. So those are the integer values or whole number values that fulfill this criteria. So, and this is the final answer. Now on the number line, how would that look? Just draw 0 and 5. Draw a circle above, and because it's equal here, I can see I can shade this one in. This one's also equal, I can shade that one in, and just join a line. But having said all of that, this here is the final answer.